The Aduatuci or Attribution were, according to Caesar, a Germanic tribe who had been allowed to settle amongst the Germanic tribes living in East Belgium. They descended from the Cimbri and Teutones, who were tribes thought to have originated in the area of Denmark. Much later, the Aduatuci sent troops to assist their Belgic neighbours, especially the Nervii, in the Battle of the Sabas, but were too late. They were later defeated by the Romans after withdrawing to a fortified city. After their defeat by Caesar, they disappear from the written record, but their survivors possibly contributed to the later tribal grouping known as the Tungri in Roman imperial times. Before the Roman attack in 57 BC, the Oppidum of the Aduatuci were home to 57,000, including refugees fleeing the Romans. The Oppidum of the Aduatuci were seized by the Romans, and after the fall of the city with 4,000 dead, the entire surviving population of 53,000 were sold as slaves. Background: the Cimbri, the Teutones, and Ambrones were engaged by, and then defeated, several Roman armies at the Battle of Norea and at Arezzo, where the Romans are said to have lost more than 80,000 men. After the Marian reforms of the legions, the Teutones and Ambrones were finally defeated by the Romans at Aquisextii in 102 BC. The Cimbri were defeated by the Romans in northeast Italy in 101 BC. The Aduatuci were said to be the remnants of a group of the Cimbri who stayed in northern Gaul after defeating a previous Roman army under Marcus Junius Silanus in Gaul in 109 BC, before the Germanic tribes moved south towards Italy. Edith Whiteman states that they are generally supposed to have occupied the Middle Meuse Valley, perhaps rightly, although the reasoning is suspect. Concerning their fort, Whiteman writes, from the description, it was a promontory fort or apparent barre, but the lack of any reference to a major river argues against the citadel at Namur, and the Mont Valais near High, both of them washed by the Meuse. Reoccupation of the earlier fort of Hastin is a possibility. Other candidates are not lacking, but they lie mostly in the Entre-Sambre-Meuse area, which probably belonged to the Nervii. In 2012, a group of historians and archaeologists came to the conclusion that the Oppidum of the Aduatuci was placed south of the Hainaut city of Tween. The following arguments for this identification were listed. The discovery of the remains of a fortified Iron Age settlement, enclosing 13 hectares. The fortification was felt to match the description given by Caesar. Concentrations of Roman lead projectiles show that the fort was attacked by Roman forces. 3 troves of gold had been buried near the fortification, all dating to early years of the decade 50 BCE. The place lies in the correct general area, assisting the Nervians. The Battle of Sabas took place in 57 BC between the Romans and the Nervians. Although the Roman forces under Julius Caesar eventually defeated the Nervians, the Romans were almost overtaken by the surprisingly strong tribe. The Aduatuci sent troops to assist the Nervians, but when they learned of the Nervians' defeat, the Aduatuci retreated towards a single fort, being a place eminently fortified by nature, and described by Caesar as being the original settlement they had chosen after settling in the area. Defeat. The Romans followed the Aduatuci and besieged their city. The Aduatuci successfully resisted the Romans' initial attacks but surrendered after the Romans erected siege weapons and approached the city with them. Caesar promised mercy if the Aduatuci surrendered, so the Aduatuci opened their gates and made show of laying down some weapons. This may have been an attempt to trick the Romans and catch them off guard in a later attack. Caesar kept his word that evening by sending Roman troops out of the Aduatuci city to avoid looting and violence against the Aduatuci. Using improvised shields and weapons which they had concealed within the city, the Aduatuci then engaged the Romans in a surprise attack at night. While the Aduatuci fought well, the Romans were prepared and they defeated the Aduatuci. Many Aduatuci were killed in the battle and those that survived were sold into slavery. Caesar wrote that 53,000 people were sold into slavery. Possible survival. Under Roman rule, the name of the Aduatuci never appears anymore, but the tribal groupings of the area are likely to have reformed, also including more recent immigrants from Germany. The survivors of the people who fought Caesar are therefore likely to have joined into the tribal grouping known in imperial times as the Tungri. The place name of Aduatuci does continue in the region, because the capital of the Tungris region, the Civitas Tungrorum, was known as Aduatuci Tungrorum. The reasons for this are unclear, but the name of the capital of the Eburones, the distinct neighbors of the Aduatuci, had also been referred to as Aduatuci by Caesar, and so it is likely the word was a general term for a fortified settlement.